Hello, Sarah Marie Cameron here, weekend host on 3AW and co-host of the House of Wellness across 9 Radio. I am loving the quarter hour and all of the guests and want to give a huge shout out to all of the P1s. Now, over to you, Wade Kingsley.
Oh, thank you for that. Dear listener, I am backstage here at Heard, Commercial Radio and Audio's annual event in Australia, and I'm about to talk to International Marketing Professor Mark Ritson. Thanks for doing the podcast with me.
My pleasure.
It feels weird to call you Mark, so can I call you Ritson?
You can call me whatever you like.
Okay, great. Also, I've seen you speak live 10, 15 times.
Holy shit, man, you've been around then.
Well, I was going to say, that's the least I've ever heard you swear, and my question was going to be, Are you okay?
I'm getting old, maybe. Yeah, look, that's a good call, right? I mean, it's funny how I think what happens sometimes, if you've got a lot of good data, which I think we had today, you don't want to detract from it too much.
Yep.
If you feel like you got a bit of time and there isn't, you know what I mean, there's a bit less content, you can indulge yourself a bit more.
Absolutely.
But also, I don't know if you felt the audience was great, but it's quite serious in there. Did you get the same? I mean, in a good way.
In a good way.
They were really into the charts.
Yes.
So when they're doing that, you know, shouting fuck at the top of your voice.
Good.
They're like, excuse me, what was that? I'm looking at this bar chart. Why are you shouting at me?
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? So
Well, just to paint the picture, 2 glasses of red wine have just arrived, so let's do it.
Well,
Cheers.
we're forced to drink it now,
I know.
aren't
Well, I assume you ordered one for me. That wasn't 2 for you, right?
we? Well, you know, I'll give you one of mine.
Thank you.
It's not bad wine for a conference
It's
either.
very good. It's good conference wine.
Good conference wine.
Let me start with what you described as the beautiful set of numbers. So,
Yeah.
I think sometimes for people working in radio, and I've worked in radio a long time, some of the challenge is trying to come up with a great narrative to sit in front of a client who wants to basically just do what they want to do. And you're lucky, radio, that you get my spend because you're a channel and everyone's going to get, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So in the context of the data you presented today, how do you think that radio salespeople, creative writers, production people can prosecute the data argument better?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I was keen on. There's a lot more data that came out of Rob than I presented, and I was quite strong with the team here because they wanted me to show all of it, and I'm like, no. You come to these events, everyone throws too much data at people, and the reality is, I mean, really, I had 4 big arguments, right? And even that is stretching it, right? So I'd say the first thing is that I've edited the data, and I think people selling radio should edit again, right? Watch my presentation, you know, not because I'm some kind of Frank Sinatra type figure, but because I think there's at least 4 compelling arguments, and pick the one that will work best for the clients you work with.
Yep.
I have a feeling that of all of them, the penetration point is probably very powerful and probably appeals the most.
Yep.
Who doesn't want to acquire more customers?
Yeah.
And the numbers are quite big. The differential, the delta's big, right? But I'd say, look, we're going to put the deck out everywhere. Watch me present the data and then pick, you know, edit the right argument.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't even do all the ones I did. I would pick the bullets carefully.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know?
I've got a bit of a theory that the people who can create the best advertising creative in a radio station aren't necessarily anywhere near the advertising. That is the on-air personalities, that is some of the behind-the-scenes creators that work with the teams, whose job every day is to acquire, engage, retain an audience for that radio station.
Yeah.
Yet, if you look at investment radio around the world, copywriters don't really exist that much anymore. AI is doing a lot of copywriting in some markets.
Yep.
And obviously there's a place and a time, et cetera, but I just wonder if we need some more creative minds closer to the advertising to deliver the emotion and effectiveness that you talked about.
I think that's probably true. I mean, I see it as there's 2 in my book, which is very simplistic on audio. There's 2 kinds of creative audio, broadly speaking. There's the one where, and we did an example today where you take from the broader campaign and you replay it in an audio way. You know, you're basically giving a broader campaign that's on TV and on digital some more legs. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's another type where there's probably a bigger proportion of the money going into audio and it's carrying its own weight.
Right.
And I think they're the ones where, I think proper audio creative, where it's done with people that are closer to the world, I think in radio terms, it's properly treating radio like its own media.
Yeah.
And not just cutting out soundtracks from other things.
Yeah.
I don't think it's done well in Australia. I think, most things in Australia are better than the UK, but I think UK's creative radio advertising is stronger.
Yeah.
Because they do play more with that theatre of the mind.
Yeah.
You see a bit more going on. So yeah, I do agree with that. I will always tell you my favourite example of audio promotion was Russell Brand, who's I think been banned now.
Yes, cancelled now.
Cancelled by everyone. But I took, my wife more than me, but we took great pleasure out of Russell Brand's podcast for a long time, before he lost the plot. And one of the things he would do in his own show is they would read an ad, I don't know if you ever heard this, from the sponsor.
Yeah.
And it would often turn into a 20-minute piss take of the company.
Yeah.
And in the end, they obviously had, his producer, Rob, was kind of like, hey, you have to do this and stop messing around because we're getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And he wasn't joking. They'd obviously had a lot of pressure, right? But I listened to that thinking, this is golden, right? Yeah. You've paid for a 1-minute read and it's 25 minutes of Russell Brand mentioning you, taking the piss. And all right, it's not on brand, but loosen up and enjoy the salience. And I always thought there was something there that more podcasts specifically, and even live radio could play with.
Yep.
The more you can blend it in. But yeah, your general point is spot on. I think we really need to pay more attention to what radio creative can do, and we really don't do that.
Yeah. The examples you cited in the presentation were Bunnings and Budget Direct. And for our international audience, Bunnings is the largest hardware, or now getting into everything, pet care, cleaning, in Australia. And in terms of Budget Direct, they're a pretty run-of-the-mill insurance operation.
Yeah.
Why did you pick those two in the context of your data?
We had a whole bunch of good campaigns and a whole bunch of brands that spend beyond that 11% threshold. Now, we can't talk about it because we're not allowed to say how much people are spending on media, but you can assume that those two brands have done particularly well, right? Whatever level they choose to spend on. We picked them because I think both of them illustrate those two of the key points. One of which was distinctive brand assets, sonic assets, obviously with audio. From the beginning and throughout, both of them are incredibly well branded. And both of them have been running in that campaign format for years, not even months, right? And those are two things that in the talk were real success factors. And they're also, frankly, both big, impressive, well-run brands that everyone else wants to grow like. You know what I mean? If you're not an Aussie, you don't know this, but they're both brands that everyone goes, oh yeah, they know what they do.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I felt like there was almost like a hallelujah in the room. I don't know if you heard this on the stage, but affirmation, like one of those sort of sighs of people going, yeah, absolutely, I get this, was the notion that a lot of average radio campaigns are 4 weeks, when really in terms of consistency you should be looking for a lot longer. Yeah,
and it's a double tragedy because first of all, you literally won't be seeing most of the impact because you've taken the campaign off air and changed it to something else. So you've hurt your campaign effectiveness. But second, you've hurt the economics of it.
Yeah.
If you keep making lots more, radio ads aren't the most expensive things to make, but it still takes time and money.
Yeah.
All of that money could go into working capital of buying radio media.
Yeah.
So the message is, not just in audio, but in all the industries, and I don't think it's getting through, is do more research to set up your creative.
Yeah.
Pre-test the creative and refine it. Get it really well done.
Yep.
And spend a little bit more money, frankly, but get it well done. And then run them longer as part of campaigns that run longer.
Yeah.
And this is the thing of years, not of weeks.
Yeah.
And Australia just does not get this message, as we saw with the average data. There's a small number of brands, like the two we mentioned, who are doing the same thing for years, and there's everyone else that after 4 weeks goes, oh, that was nice.
That was nice, yeah, I'm sick of it. And do you think that, like, for radio salespeople in the market, obviously the data that you presented today is a useful tool for them to say, here's the reasons why, but when you're battling for spend against other channels, is there some lever that you think radio salespeople or radio creative people could be saying to brands to say, we understand your budget will last 4 weeks, but we really think it should go at least 3 months onwards?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I've done before in other settings, and I'm not sure whether the team here are interested, but creating a very simple online spreadsheet where you can sit down as a salesperson with a client and say, right, give us a few numbers.
Yep.
Now, if you were a brand that, right now you're not spending on growth and you're not spending enough on audio. Let's imagine you did both of those things. This is what would happen to your main numbers, and this is what we could project would happen, in a very approximate way. Yeah. But I think that would be a wonderful way to bring it home to brands. That we say beautiful data here. It's very simple data, but that's a good sign, right? When you can put two bar charts up, and one of them's got 20 points more than the other, and the only difference is spent money on audio, didn't spend money on audio.
Yeah.
Most companies have to go many, many more miles around many other corners to present something they can kind of claim is impressive.
Yeah.
When you saw those bar charts, right, there's no jiggery pokery. It's like, right, they're investing in audio, they're not investing in audio. Look at the fucking difference, right? It's that's what makes it powerful. And if we could bring that to life, I think it would be very good. Because I think, generally, companies do underinvest in audio. I mean, it's a simple fact, right?
Also, I mean, I've heard you talk before about consistency, particularly with distinctive brand assets. This is going to sound like a political question, but it's not. Is at the moment in Australia, we have two major political parties whose brands are, let's just say, on the nose. And we have one third more insurgent party that's been around for at least 20 odd years. And I read a really interesting column, and I wouldn't normally read a right-wing political column, but it was a commentator who said part of the reason of her success and that party is she has had a consistent message for a long period of time. Yeah. And she's been in market, to use a marketing parlance, and always on that same message for so long.
This is Miss Hanson we're talking about.
We are talking, yes, you guessed correctly. But it amazes me how many brands change their message. And I think, to be honest, radio stations in their own marketing do change it so frequently.
No, I agree. And I think the point is get it right, double, triple down, don't get sick of it because your consumer isn't, and go the long haul. I mean, I've said for many, many, many moons that building a brand takes 10 years, right? Yep. And it really does. Yep. It's only after 10 years that we really start getting somewhere. Do you know what I mean? In the same way, these campaigns that we're running should be, again, a matter of years as well. And Pauline Hanson, whether you're impressed with her or not, she's a good operator, right? Off a very, small base, she's built an amazing following and an amazing influence on this country. And she's done it by being salient. Yep. She's always there. She's always accessible. She's always ready for media. And when they cut to her, she's got a couple of very key messages that mostly involve setting fire to people of colour and minorities. But, you never mind the message, appreciate the way she's delivering it.
Yeah,
right?
I think a lot of people can appreciate that with Trump too. Again, we're going to get too political here, but we've only had one glass of red, so I'll deviate quickly back to...
I'm extraordinarily unpolitical. I'm glad you're reading some of the right. All right, I think the left and the right are equally bad and equally good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like the left when they get worthy. Yep. About, we've got the right approach. I don't like the right wing when they get all the other things. So I really enjoy Trump. He's not as right as everyone says. I would never vote for him, I hasten to add. But I think what you see with him, when people say, Trump's stupid, is that he's not an idiot. Whatever else you think of Trump, he's not. And the way he ripped through that Republican Party when it was astonishing to watch, right? That's a guy has a reptilian skill for optics and rhetoric and position, and you can only learn from him. I mean, Obama was as good as him in a different way. But we'll never see two as talented politicians in our lifetime again between those two, right? So Obama was silky and smooth, but there was a lot more going on than he let on. Yeah. And Trump looks like a blunt weapon, but he's much, much smarter than they're realizing. And it's an almost instinctive gift for communication.
Yeah,
you know what
absolutely.
I mean? I mean, the guy single-handedly took on the Republican Party. He's not even a Republican, right? And won. Yeah. The key fact with Trump, again, let's not get too political, is he looked at running 5 or 6 other times before he ran the first time. Right. He's not an idiot. You know what I mean? And then he went nowhere near it because he knew he couldn't win. Yeah. And he would have run as a Democrat, as an independent, and as a Republican.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see what I mean? Like that's a big brain operating there. Whatever people say about
him. Thank you for your time. We could spend another bottle of red on politics. But
I think so. We'll just turn off the microphone and keep going.
One last question for you. This is a podcast listened to by radio people, audio people around the world.
All over the world.
Do you have a favourite radio or audio commercial or brand that's used audio around the world?
I do, and I'm... it is an Aussie commercial, so I'm going to redeem what I said earlier. I think pound for pound, in terms of, we talked about earlier about longevity, distinctive brand assets, impact. We have to talk about national tiles, but you're going to have to explain to
people,
to everyone that doesn't. Everyone in Australia knows exactly what I mean.
Yes.
And I'm not going to spoil it for people.
Okay.
But I would say that later on, what you've got to do is play the national tiles ad, and then you have to explain the legacy of this man's work.
Okay. Well, I'll cut to National Tiles ad now.
Okay, let's listen to it.
Okay.
Hello, Frank Walker from National Tiles. This week, National Tiles have a beautiful range of polished porcelain floor tiles, slashed by up to 30% and more. Yes, until this Sunday only at National Tiles, save up to 30% and more on our beautiful range of polished porcelain floor tiles. But only until this Sunday. Rush into National Tiles now and save. Go to our website for details. nationaltiles.com.au.
All right, now shall we do it together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Hello.
Waiting for you to go first.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. But you've got to do the full. It's an Aussie hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh no, I'm all over the place there.
Hello.
You do that better than me.
It was one of my first introductions to Australia, as I think it was for many immigrants, was, who the fuck is this guy, right? And I've been here 20 years. It's been running 20 years, so it must be running a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
What's he called? Frank, what's he called?
Frank Walker.
Hello. Frank Walker.
Yes. Well, we might do a little contest on the pod. If you've got a Frank Walker, send it in. Mark Ritson, thank you. You are the closest thing I can think of to an international rock star in marketing.
Well, I'll take that, because
you say Mark and no one knows who you are, but you say Ritson and everyone knows who you are.
Hey, I'll take anything, man. Salience over anything, right?
Exactly. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh, mate, a pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
That's an audio shake of hands that you.
It was, and now a clink of the glass.
The clink of the glass. You can hear that.
Thank you.